Why, hello. So I decided that I was going to make a reproduction 1930s style underwear pattern. This is Simplicity 8510, but I ran into a snag. Let me just go over the numbers really quick. My waist is 36 inches. The largest waist for this is 34. So naturally, I thought I could size up 2 inches and be fine. The hip measurement of the finished garment says 58 inches. My hip measurement is 50. Should have worked fine, right? Well, it did not. This is what happened when I just increased by 2 inches. It's too tight and it gapes. So I had to fix it. And this is what I did. I have scaled up this pattern. I was only off by 2 inches on the maximum size, so I added 1/2 inch spacing for the waist sections. And then the hip ratio was also off by 6 inches, so I added 1 inch in 3 places across both of the pattern pieces, starting about the center of the crotch curve. Next, I'm going to lay out my pattern pieces. I am doing view C of the pattern. It calls for piece 8, piece 7, 11, 12, and 13. None of these pieces are cut on the fold, and none of them are cut on the bias. I take that back. Only the binding pieces, so pieces 13 and 12, are cut on the bias. Firstly, we are going to cut out our notches, if there are any, and we are going to put our markings onto the sewing pattern. Now I realized when I put together my pieces that the triangles in the crotch part of the pieces does not line up, and it should. So I don't know how this one got off. Oh, yes I do. I cut it on the wrong side. I put it on this side instead of this side when I made the new spacing. So we're just gonna do this. We're gonna cut both these triangles at once because these triangles are for lining up the front and the back pieces. First off, we have our back pieces. And I'm going to face those with the right side facing up. And then I'm going to take my front pieces and do right side facing down. And we're just gonna pin them on the outsides. So just this short little seam here for the inside of the legs. And then we're going to do the long seam on the outside. Now, the long seam, we only need to go up to our dot. So from the bottom of the leg to the dot is where we're going to stop our seam. All right, on this sewing machine, I like to make my stitches at the 2. That's where I like to have my stitches because they're nice and small and tight. I have my machine set at tension 5 with the straight stitch. So we are going to start with the crotch seam, and we are going to stitch 5/8 of an inch for our seam allowance. All right, one crotch seam down, and we are going to stitch the side seam, stopping at the dot. Because I am going to finish the seams as I go, I am going to clip in toward the dot, and I'm just going to clip at an angle and stop before my stitch line. And that way I can finish this seam before I put this finish on, because it will technically be 2 separate sections. Now that I have ironed those down, I'm just going to stitch them down. Now we're going to put the lap on, which this is where the buttons and buttonholes attach. So the way we do this, turn the shorts right side out. And then we open up our lap. Oops. I'm going to do this on the wrong side to start with. I'm going to pin the right side to the wrong side of the lap. We're going to line up our triangles. Now I'm going to attach the lap on each side of the shorts, and I am going to stitch the whole thing down my machine, which is why I didn't bother starting on the right side to right side. I started on the wrong side to right side so that I could stitch it down and then fold over the lap and stitch it with top stitching. So here you can see I'm just stitching it straight down with the sides of the shorts open. Now I'm going to press the lap, so I'm going to just press those seams flat that I just made. Then I'm going to press down my seam allowance. And lastly, I'm going to press the lap over the raw edge so that I can do a top stitch to hold it down. going to do that stitch to hold the lap band in place so that I can attach my buttons and buttonholes to this section. And I'll repeat it for the other side. Now I'm going to attach the waistband or the binding, and I like to do it by matching the markings for the middle to the back seam or the front seam, whichever side of the binding I'm on. And then you stretch out the binding to cover the entire top of the item you're sewing. And you want to have a little bit of overlap at the end so that when you fold it over, it's not flush, but you have room to cover the raw edge. And then I will stitch down the binding with the right side to right side. I will fold it over and then I will hand stitch the underside. Well, these came out beautifully. They fit, they're not gaping, they're flowy, and they're fun. Well, that's my video this week. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you're new here, I hope you come back. If you're not new here, I'm so glad you stayed. And hopefully we can make some more fun things very soon. So I hope you are inspired to start your sewing journey if you haven't. And if you have, I just hope you find enjoyment in my creations too. So, as always, have a wonderful day.